Welcome in for another edition of the Morning Espresso here on the SDH Network. I'm Jason Longshore, and this is brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. It's all the soccer news you need to know to start your Friday, February 28th. MLS Match Week 2 starts Saturday afternoon in Charlotte. Atlanta United making the trip up I 85. Our pre-match coverage on 92.9 The Game and the Audacy app will start at 1 p.m. from our Midtown Atlanta studios. Abe Gordon, Nick Aliffi will be with you from there. Mike Conti and I will be joined by Garth Lagerway in the booth at Bank of America Stadium a little bit before 1:30, and then kickoff will be set for 2:25 between Charlotte FC and Atlanta United. Over 45,000 tickets have been sold as of yesterday. Lower bowl sold out. I love that 45,000 tickets sold a couple days before the match is seen as a little bit of a disappointment. I think that number is going to be larger in Charlotte. I don't know how much larger. We'll see. It's going to be a great crowd. The comparison game, I get it. It's something that clubs will do. It's something that fans will do. It's amazing that over 45,000 tickets have been sold for this game for a club that's a few years old for a match between two large Southeastern teams. Going to be a lot of fun. Wilfried Zaha is back in Charlotte after the birth of his child, and he is expected to play a role in the match. He's going to train with the team today. Other headlines from week 2 in MLS. San Diego, they have their first ever home match. They open at home against St. Louis on Saturday night. The Houston Dynamo, they'll host Inter Miami in the Saturday night soccer match in Texas on Sunday at 7 o'clock. Austin, they're going to go to Oregon to face a Portland Timbers side that got obliterated by Vancouver last week. First half red card had a huge role in that, but can the Timbers stand up for themselves in this one? Dallas, they're going to go to Colorado to face the Rapids after a big win over the Dynamo last week. And Cincinnati is going to go to Philadelphia, a surprising Philadelphia Union who went down to Central Florida and throttled Orlando in week 1 on the road. We're going to learn a little bit more about some of these teams that were surprises in week 1, and are they going to be surprises in week 2, or is that just going to be the norm? We'll find out after we get through the week. We'll talk about it on Monday on the Morning Espresso. For the second year in a row, Major League Soccer released the roster profiles of its teams with the information on how they were constructed to fit within the spending limits. Just a couple of things if you're new to MLS and you're kind of getting your head wrapped around this stuff. The salary cap in MLS, all forms of compensation plus acquisition costs, that's up to $5.95 million per team. That's only the 20-player senior roster. It doesn't affect the rest of the roster, supplemental roster, slots 21 to 31. Designated players, U22 initiative signings, the salary charge for them, you get benefits for having these guys kind of off the books. 6 players per team, 3 designated players and 3 U22s, or 2 designated players and 4 U22s. The maximum salary charge is $743,750. You can use allocation money to buy players down so they're not a designated player and they're underneath that maximum charge. Allocation money is the interesting element in Major League Soccer that allows you to have more cap space essentially. Um, Atlanta United, for example, had $6.5 million in general allocation money going into the season. And after all of their spending and roster construction and where things stand, they've still got a little over a million that they can use to add players. I don't know how much cap space they have. We don't know exactly what that number is, but they've got some flexibility if they decide they want to go and add someone here while the window is still open. It is open through April 23rd. Not a lot of activity between now and then, maybe some trades that could get interesting. After the window closes, it will reopen on July 24th and then extend until August 21st. 7 teams across the league are filling all 6 designated player and U22 slots. Only 7 out of the 30. Last night, Vancouver, they joined 6 other MLS teams in the CONCACAF Champions Cup round of 16. 2-0 win at home over Saprissa. 2 goals from Brian White. Really good win for the Whitecaps. Really good start to the season for the Whitecaps. So now the round of 16 is set. Tuesday, LAFC will host Columbus. Cincinnati will host Tigres, and Pumas will host Alajuelense of Costa Rica. We go to Wednesday, and Chivas will host Club America, a super classico in the round of 16 in the Triple C. Seattle, they're going to host Cruz Azul. Vancouver will host Monterrey. Herediano will host the LA Galaxy. And on Thursday, Inter Miami will host Cavalier FC of Jamaica. The second leg of that one in Jamaica has already sold out for Miami and Messi's trip to Jamaica. World Cup 2026 updates. We're going to try to keep you posted on everything happening around the prep for the tournament. Houston in the news this morning. Work needs to get done to get NRG Stadium ready for the tournament. This is typical around all of the venues that'll be hosting games. Funding's just been approved by the Harris County Sports and Convention Corporation to buy 4,700 new seat backs and bottoms to replace old seats that need replacement. Seats will have to be removed in the corners to provide space to fit FIFA regulations. A new grass surface will be installed as well, but that's going to happen after the annual Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo in March of 2026. So then they'll put in the new grass field for the World Cup. 7 games are going to get played in Houston, including a round of 16 game on July 4th. And NRG Stadium is also going to host the summer's Gold Cup final. Let's jump over across the pond, the Premier League. There's a lot of talk right now about what broadcast rights and what broadcast situations are going to look like in the future, especially in Europe, where there's a lot of issues with piracy. And you're starting to get some organizations that are a little more reluctant to spend large amounts of money on broadcast rights. The Premier League, like pretty much every league in the world in every sport, is looking at launching its own platform. This one is being dubbed Premflix. They would need more than 12 million UK subscribers paying £20 a month to justify launching its own streaming platform. They generate right now £3.5 billion a year from selling its media rights. A direct to consumer service could be even more lucrative, but you're going to need a lot to get the thing off the ground, and that's going to be expensive. There's rumors about it. They announced that they were bringing all their overseas content and production in house from 2026. But this upfront cost of getting this off the ground is going to be big, and it's going to hit clubs in the short term. Across Europe, this is another thing that's starting to be looked at. Ligue 1, Serie A, they agreed to broadcast deals at reduced rates for this season. The Premier League, they got a 4% increase in broadcast revenue, but 40% more matches televised. Ligue 1 has already done a direct to consumer service with Amazon in response to the falling broadcast deals, and others are going to follow suit. This is why what MLS has done with Apple is kind of becoming more of the norm as opposed to being the huge outlier that maybe people reacted to a couple years ago. This is where it's going, and teams and leagues are going to have to be a little more, I guess, cognizant of where it's going and how to sell it and how to manage it and how to explain it, and maybe more importantly, how to get the word out and how to make it compelling. It's going to be very, very interesting as the TV and the broadcast side of things completely changes underneath our feet right now in 2025. Let's go to Liverpool. They posted a pre-tax loss of $71.8 million in the 2023-2024 season. That's according to their latest accounts. A payout of almost £10 million to Jurgen Klopp and his backroom staff contributed to that, but it's not the overall headline out of it, in my opinion. Revenue went up by £20 million, a new record, £614 million. Media revenue dropped because Liverpool was not in the Champions League. They were in the Europa League. That was kind of offset by an increase in Premier League media revenue. Wage bill went up. Total administrative costs went up. Part of the rise in the wage bill was Champions League bonuses from the previous season where Liverpool got to the round of 16. Klopp and his backroom staff got payoffs to cover the time they had remaining on their contracts. Since 2018, this is maybe one of the more surprising elements of all this. Liverpool's administrative expenses have increased by 88% from £320 million to £600 million. The wage bill has gone up by 86% from £208 million to £386 million. That's a lot. Some of that is down to being in a better place to be competitive, having more money coming in, obviously. But a wage bill going up by 86% since 2018, that's not sustainable over a long period of time. That's something that Liverpool is going to have to be cognizant of and figure out unless they can keep finding more revenue to come in, which I'm not expecting. The bank debt increased for Liverpool, and this is down a little bit to the new main stand, which Fenway Sports Group loaned the club $110 million in 2016 to get this done. There was not a repayment made to their own ownership during this accounting period, so the balance is still at 71 million. Bank debt decreased, or sorry, decreased 10 million. A large chunk of that relates to this stand. So this is just a glimpse at where things stand for one of the biggest clubs in the world. Their commercial revenue went up, their match day revenue went up. They're going to be fine in terms of the profitability and sustainability rules because they made a profit of 7.5 million in 2021, 2022, and they lost 9 million the following season. This is a huge loss, and it shows the value of being in the Champions League, but it's also just a glimpse at where things are with one of the biggest clubs in the world. So it's not all roses right now, but they should be okay. More on Monday's jousting between Galatasaray and Fenerbahce. Jose Mourinho, 4-match ban for remarks made after the match, 2 for his jibe about Galatasaray bench behaving like monkeys, and 2 for a sly dig at Turkish referees. Yeah, Jose, I don't even know at this point. You just expect these kind of things at this stage of his career. It's sad. Let's go to Italy, where it's also sad, and sometimes how things get covered in the Italian media. It's already bubbling up when it comes to Juventus. According to Il Corriere della Sera, an unnamed Juventus player has admitted that he, quote, can't stand, unquote, coach Thiago Motta, and is, quote, not the only one, unquote, in the dressing room. Love the tabloids. I can't stand him, and I'm not the only one, a Juventus player allegedly told a close friend who went to the tabloids. This is becoming a bubbling up issue in the tabloids, but also just in conversation. Even if Juventus gets into the top 4 and goes to the Champions League next year, he still might get dismissed. He's under contract through June of 2027. Firing him in the summer would cost Juventus around 20 million euro. Couple of updates. The silly season just closed not that long ago. We're already starting to talk about silly season in the summer. Joshua Kimmich, his offer from Bayern Munich to extend his contract has been revoked. And now Sky Germany is reporting that Arsenal could be going after the 30-year-old Germany captain. Neymar could be going back to Barcelona. I know he just landed in Santos. His contract's only through the summer of the year. He could join Barcelona on a free ahead of the La Liga season. And there's talk on both sides of it. I don't know. I would want to wait and see a little bit more of him playing because he hasn't played a whole lot over the last 18 months. I'd want to see more before I make that kind of investment. Barcelona is a little desperate in terms of finding players that are going to be cheap. He would be on a free, but his salary wouldn't be cheap. But maybe he would take less to go back to Barcelona and have a big year leading into the World Cup where he's going to be much needed for Brazil in 2026. Interesting one to keep an eye on. Go to South America. Racing, they won the South American Super Cup, the Recopa, 4-0 on aggregate over Botafogo. 2 straight 2-0 wins. Second one was in Brazil over Botafogo. Racing won the Sudamericana last year, and they're going to take home over $15 million since last November when they won that tournament, winning this one, going into the Libertadores group stage automatically. The more money they can win for doing well in that, going to be fascinating to see how Racing can potentially really make a push for the Copa Libertadores, which has been dominated by the Brazilian clubs as of late. Tonight on the SDH Network, West Forsyth, they travel to Swanee to face Lambert High School. Girls kick off at 6 o'clock, boys kick off at 8 o'clock. John Nelson will have the call for you on our Mixlr channel, Mixlr. You can also hear it by clicking the listen link at the top of the page on soccerdownhere.net. John will also have SDH AM starting at 9:05. We'll get you ready for Match Week 2 in Major League Soccer. Also, a lot of Atlanta United and Charlotte FC talk. I'll be joining in around 10:30 or so with my thoughts on the match. You can go back to last night and listen or watch MLS Six Pack with myself and Madison Cruz. Jessica Charman called in as well. Lots of content right now on the SDH Network. Training Ground Dispatch from yesterday as well with myself and Madison with our thoughts. And you'll hear from Stian Gregerson. You'll hear from Ronnie Dyla, and you'll hear from Derek Williams in that piece of content. Very, very busy times, but that's why we love what we do, right? The SDH Network rolls on, and a lot of us will be rolling up to Charlotte. Follow us on all your social media platforms. You will see pictures from Sophia Cupertino. You will see messages and updates from Madison Cruz and myself, and you'll be able to listen to the match on 92.9 The Game and the Audacy app. Nick Aliffi on pregame with Abe Gordon, myself and Mike Conti on the call. Madison will be there as well, contributing to our coverage along with Sophia. Hopefully, you all have a great weekend, and we'll be back on Monday for a little more Morning Espresso presented by Oglethorpe University.